He was 30 years old. He controlled $8 billion of other people's money, and almost none of it was where he said it was. This is Fallen Fortunes, where we follow the money all the way down. At its peak, FTX was valued at $32 billion. That is more than the market cap of companies that employ tens of thousands of people and have existed for decades. And the man who built it, Samuel Bankman-Fried, known everywhere as SBF, was 30 years old. He was not hiding in a bunker. He was testifying before the United States Congress. He was in Super Bowl commercials alongside Larry David. He appeared on the covers of Forbes and Fortune. He spoke the language of regulation, of consumer protection, of doing crypto right. He wore cargo shorts to Senate hearings and called it radical transparency. He lived in a $40 million penthouse in the Bahamas with a group of colleagues who were also, in many cases, romantically involved with each other. He gave millions to political campaigns, on both sides. He publicly pledged to donate most of his fortune to charity. The press called him the J.P. Morgan of crypto, the responsible adult in a reckless industry. But here is what the court records would later confirm. The money those millions of customers deposited onto FTX, money that was supposed to sit in their accounts, available to withdraw at any moment, was already gone. FTX looked legitimate because the most sophisticated money in the world said it was. Sequoia Capital invested. SoftBank invested. The Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan, managing the retirement savings of hundreds of thousands of Canadian teachers, invested. In total, FTX raised over $1.8 billion from venture capital firms that employ armies of analysts whose only job is to find fraud before it finds them. Celebrities signed endorsement deals. Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Steph Curry, Shaquille O'Neal. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank called SBF one of the most legitimate operators in the entire crypto space. That line would later be read back in court. The pitch was simple and powerful. Crypto was the Wild West. Everyone knew it. FTX was supposed to be the sheriff, regulated, audited, transparent, the exchange where institutions could trust the counterparty. That promise drew in retail investors from across the world, people who had watched Bitcoin go from pennies to $60,000 and did not want to miss the next wave. They deposited real money, dollars, savings, retirement funds, and FTX confirmed their balances on a clean, professional dashboard every time they logged in. Those balances were real. The money behind them was not. Here is how it actually worked. FTX was a cryptocurrency exchange. Customers deposited money expecting it to stay in their accounts until they decided to trade or withdraw. That is the only job of a custodial exchange. You hold the money. You do not touch it. Instead, according to prosecutors, and confirmed by the trial verdict, FTX was secretly routing customer deposits to Alameda Research, a separate trading firm that SBF also founded and effectively controlled. Alameda was not a passive investment fund. It was an aggressive, highly leveraged trading operation. It made enormous bets on crypto assets. Many of those bets went wrong. Think of it this way. Imagine you deposit cash at a bank. The bank hands your cash to its own hedge fund next door. The hedge fund bets it on speculative assets. And every time the fund needs to show it has collateral, it holds up a token it printed itself. That is structurally what was happening. That token was FTT. FTX created FTT. FTX controlled most of the FTT supply. Alameda used FTT as collateral to borrow more money, to make more trades, to paper over losses. The whole structure depended on FTT maintaining its price, a price that FTX itself had enormous power to influence simply by holding most of the supply off the market. Most people believe FTX collapsed because the crypto market crashed in 2022. The jury rejected that argument. The verdict was fraud, not bad timing, not market conditions. The court found that customer funds that should have been untouched were spent on venture investments, on real estate, on political donations, on loans to executives. Caroline Ellison, who ran Alameda and later cooperated with prosecutors, testified that she knew about the transfers and that SBF directed them. and almost nobody outside that penthouse noticed, until one spreadsheet changed everything. On November 2, 2022, CoinDesk, a crypto news outlet, published a story based on a leaked balance sheet from Alameda Research. The document showed that a massive portion of Alameda's assets were held in FTT, the token that FTX had created. It was not cash. It was not Bitcoin. It was a token whose value depended almost entirely on confidence in FTX itself. The firm underpinning the exchange was collateralized by the exchange's own paper. The story was published on a Wednesday. By Sunday, Changpeng Zhao, CZ, the founder of Binance, which was FTX's largest outside competitor, posted a single tweet. Binance would be liquidating its entire position in FTT, approximately $500 million worth. He cited risk management. That tweet was a match dropped into a room full of gas. Within hours, customers began requesting withdrawals. Not a trickle, a flood. On November 6th alone, customers attempted to withdraw approximately $6 billion. FTX could not process them. The money was not there. On November 8th, FTX halted withdrawals entirely. On November 11th, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. A firm valued at $32 billion in January of 2022 was functionally worthless before the end of that same year. And specifically, the collapse unfolded over approximately 9 days, from the CoinDesk article on November 2nd to the bankruptcy filing on November 11th. An estimated 1 million creditors were left with accounts they could not access. The bankruptcy examiner later estimated the shortfall in customer funds at approximately $8 billion. For many of those customers, it was not a speculative bet. It was money they needed back. John Ray III, the restructuring specialist brought in to manage the bankruptcy, the same man who oversaw the Enron liquidation, reviewed FTX's internal records and described what he found as a complete failure of corporate controls. He said he had never seen anything like it in his career, and he had seen Enron. In November 2023, after a trial lasting less than 4 weeks, a federal jury in New York found Samuel Bankman-Fried guilty on all 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy. In March 2024, Judge Lewis Kaplan sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. Prosecutors had presented evidence, including testimony from Caroline Ellison, who pleaded guilty and cooperated with the government, and from other senior FTX executives who took plea deals. Ryan Salami, Nishad Singh, Gary Wang. The inner circle came apart from the inside. The pattern here is not new: a charismatic founder, a complex structure that insiders understand and outsiders cannot easily audit, a token or an instrument whose value is circular, propped up by the same entity that depends on it, an auditor that signed off without the information needed to catch the problem, and an enormous gap between what customers were told and what was actually happening with their money. Enron used special-purpose entities and mark-to-market accounting. FTX used a sister trading firm and a self-issued token. The mechanism changes. The architecture of the deception follows the same blueprint. The FTX collapse accelerated regulatory pressure on the cryptocurrency industry in the United States and internationally. It did not end crypto, but it permanently altered the conversation about what oversight of digital asset exchanges should look like, and how much trust the words regulated and transparent actually earn on their own. $8 billion in customer funds, 1 million creditors, 25 years in prison, a $32 billion company gone in 72 hours, and it almost worked. If you want to see more collapses examined this closely, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, which scandal should we follow next?